Hello everyone, my name is Melody Quah, and my presentation highlights two compositions by the Argentinian composer Alberto Ginastera. First, the 12 American Preludes, and then the Suite de Danzas Criollas. Teaching diverse repertoire is an essential part of creating an inclusive pedagogy. So I'm always looking for distinct and high quality works for my students to learn, as I'm sure all of you are as well. I've chosen to talk about these pieces because they are not performed as often as some of Ginastera's other piano works, and more importantly, I think they are valuable pedagogical resources. This is because they encompass a variety of Latin American musical genres and include many technically stimulating and stylistically diverse movements that teachers can use to help intermediate to advanced pianists broaden their 20th century repertoires. Before I continue, I do want to say that because of the coronavirus crisis, I am without access to an acoustic piano. So I'm not able to play you the examples live as I had planned to do in Chicago, but I do have my own previously recorded performance of the pieces that I will be using instead. So let me share with you the PowerPoint that I have created. The first piece, the 12 American Preludes, was written in 1944. And in this piece, Ginastera uses miniature forms to express many different styles and technical concepts. Each prelude is brief, ranging between 30 seconds to about 2 minutes. And there are preludes that address specific technical challenges, those that are folk evocations, and those that pay homage to composers such as Copland and Villa-Lobos. Each of the preludes contain their own pedagogical value, but due to time limitations, I will only talk about a few of them today. The first prelude, entitled Accents, is more like an etude. It is in 6/8, and the constant eighth notes point to the use of the malambo rhythm, which is a type of Argentinian dance. Because the notes are grouped across the bars, the pianist is faced with the technical challenge of bringing out the accents while maintaining the integrity of the measure barrings. You can hear slight shifts in the grouping of the notes that keep things interesting, especially in the left hand here. And though it is fast, everything fits quite nicely in the hands, mostly within an octave, so a late intermediate student could handle this prelude quite well. Prelude number 4 is entitled Vidala. The Vidala is a folk song typical of the northern region of Argentina and is tender and nostalgic in character. I have found that intermediate students enjoy learning this prelude because the melody is very simple and beautiful, but it is harmonized in interesting and unexpected ways. It yields some fruitful discussion with the student on how Ginastera creates tension and release underneath such a simple melody. Prelude number 5, in the first pentatonic minor mode, is written, as the title suggests, using only 5 pitches. The mode is said to be used by the Incas, an ancient civilization whose center was located in what is now modern-day Peru. This prelude is written as a canon at the octave and is not technically difficult, so again quite approachable for the intermediate student. I have found it particularly useful because it takes focus to execute well, especially to execute memorized, given the slight awkwardness of the 7/8 time signature and the tonal unfamiliarity of the pentatonic mode. Prelude number 7 is another etude-like movement that directly addresses a technical challenge, which is that of octaves. What makes the octaves tricky to execute are the numerous leaps of fourths in this fast tempo. So I'd say that it is appropriate for the early advanced student to tackle before moving on to more advanced octave etudes. The hands move in parallel motion at the beginning, but then diverge at the entrance of a motive that some have called the gaucho motive, right here. So the gaucho is the Argentinian equivalent of the American cowboy and is a national symbol in Argentina. This is called the gaucho motive, not because of some exclusive gaucho property, but rather because of its frequent appearance in earlier works by Ginastera that take inspiration from gaucho traditions. Prelude number 10 is entitled Pastoral. You can hear that the prelude contains slow-moving harmonies and soft dynamics, and the titling Pastoral can be seen as a reference to the vast plains of Argentina and is the first of many times that Ginastera uses this term in his compositions. The left hand consists of fifths that mostly move by whole steps, and the melody in the right hand is always in dissonance against the fifths. The underlying current of the prelude is an oscillating G to A ostinato in the inner voice. This is a wonderful movement to assign to the late intermediate student to address voicing and balance, to address how to phrase a melodic line that is quite static while maintaining serenity in an underlying ostinato, and to help the student develop familiarity within more dissonant tonal worlds. Prelude number 12, the last prelude, is entitled In the First Pentatonic Major Mode. It is described by Ginastera as a slow Inca processional march associated with the worship of the sun. This prelude features open-spaced harmonies built out of fourths and fifths, grounded by bass Cs throughout, and written in multiple staffs. It gradually accumulates sound as it progresses, starting in mezzo forte and ending in quadruple forte. The time signature constantly changes, creating this feeling of timelessness in an ancient world. And the effect of bells in measure 16 onwards is achieved by dissonant ninths, which are striking because of their appearance in the high register of the piano and the use of black keys that are foreign to this pentatonic mode. For students who can reach ninths, I like to use this prelude to expose them to reading beyond a two-staff texture. Here we have 3 staffs and 4 staffs, and because this prelude uses such a wide range of the piano, both in terms of the notes as well as the dynamics, it is useful for exploring techniques of sound production. I like to mix and match movements from this collection according to the student's level and needs. Because each prelude is brief, it is not an enormous time commitment. Sometimes I treat a prelude as an etude or as a memory exercise, or sometimes I assign a few to be performed as a collection. Students seem to enjoy the diversity of character, learning about the different folk derivations, and all of the new challenges that each prelude brings. The second piece that I'd like to talk about is really an underperformed gem, the Suite de Danzas Criollas, or the Suite of Creole Dances, Opus 15. In Argentina, the word Creole refers to any native settler of the land, whether of pure Spanish extraction or of mixed indigenous heritage. This piece was written in 1946 while Ginastera was in the United States on a Guggenheim Fellowship. I think the piece is suitable for an early advance to even an advanced student. In my opinion, it works so well for pianists at this level because there are many familiar musical constructs for the student to latch onto, such as beautiful melodies, simple phrase structures, and mostly clear tonal centers, while at the same time, the piece contains 20th century techniques such as clusters, challenging rhythmic combinations, and unpredictable extended harmonies. As you can see, the piece has 5 movements, but the pianist is instructed to play each movement attacca. So while each movement is quite short, the pianist has to consider the structure of the piece as a whole. The first movement, Adagietto Pianissimo, which you have been hearing in the background, consists of a simple melody that is reminiscent of a Creole folk song, and the constant use of seventh chords give the movement quite a jazzy impression. The second movement has the marking of allegro rustico and very prominently features clusters in the right hand. Ginastera also indicates that the clusters can be played with the palm of the hand, which students get quite a kick out of. The movement features the Argentinian gato dance rhythm. And the running eighth notes here point to the malambo. So even though this movement is so short, the wonderful interplay between the gato, which is this rhythm, and the malambo rhythms, they just keep things interesting. The third movement, which happens to be my personal favorite, takes the form of a tranquil folk song. It features an uncommon time signature of 11/8 with 6/8 and 5/8 subdivision. And in measures 5 to 9, we find a canon between 2 voices with an accompaniment pattern underneath. Given the rhythmic and canonic complexities, this movement is deceptively challenging to execute. Ginastera considered the fourth movement a poetic nocturne inspired by the pampas. The pampas refers to the expansive grasslands of Argentina. The texture of this movement reminds me actually of Bartok's night music style. Ginastera expressed much admiration for Bartok throughout his life, so I definitely think that there is a connection there. In the very last movement, Ginastera uses different combinations of rhythms to build momentum. The rhythmic interplay is notated by 3/4 and 6/8 in the time signature, with other time signatures mixed in later in the movement as well. Because so much of the movement is in a loud dynamic, the pianist must strategically pace its climactic arc. Ginastera exploits the rhythmic interplay of a few different Argentinian dance rhythms, such as the samba, malambo, and gato, throughout the movement to bring the whole piece to a thrilling finale. So you can hear how this piece works so well as a 20th century concert piece for the early advanced to advanced student. It is a lot of fun to play. To wrap up, I think that both the 12 American preludes and Suite de Danzas Criollas are a pedagogical treasure trove. By selecting even a few of the movements for their repertoires, students can deepen their technical abilities, gain valuable experience playing Latin American musical styles, extend their 20th century repertoire, and are better prepared to tackle larger scale piano works. Thank you all so much for watching and stay safe.